Good morning, everybody. Maybe it's afternoon, maybe it's night, maybe it's dinner. Who knows? Maybe it's sometime in between. Maybe you're watching this after time has just ceased to exist altogether. But what I do know, and what I do want to say, is thank you, everybody, for 341 subscribers. This was a milestone that I really wanted to hit. Honestly, 340 means more to me than 300, than what 350 will, than what any other milestone that I possibly can hit from now on probably will. Like, I live in Alberta now, a bigger province, but I grew up in Newfoundland, which is, as most people know, like the smallest province in Canada, basically, besides PEI, or the territories, but either or. And, 340, like, that was the size of my town. Like, I could officially say that my channel right now is just as big as the town that I grew up in. And that is mind-blowing, because I couldn't stand in front of the class and talk to my peers. And there was I went to a bit of a bigger high school, because all the towns were kind of amalgamated into one, for school-wise. But, I couldn't talk in front of a class of 20 people without, having to show up and just fake sick. But, I could talk to you guys every day. But that's because you guys like me talking about something that I'm passionate about. And I can't be any more thankful than you guys being here and allowing me to talk about Fire Emblem, a little bit of Pokemon, but just letting me talk about what I want to talk about, and you guys actually enjoying it. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you. So for today, for this special, I wanted to do something that I think every person who makes Fire Emblem videos should do. It adds on to the discussion, and it tells us, it tells everybody kind of how we all got to where we are in the community right now. I want to talk about how I first got into Fire Emblem. So I was probably in grade 3, I want to say. If I wasn't grade 3, it was the tail end of grade 2. But we used to have this liquidation store where, if something didn't sell at, Walmart, it would get sent to this liquidation store. Ignore my 2 sweaters. It is freaking cold out here today. But yeah, we had a liquidation store. So, say if, Walmart or something didn't have some overflow, then they would send it to us. If something never got sold, they'll send it to our overflow store, and we would sell it from there on because, we were 300 kilometers from the nearest place of 20k people. We were way out the boonies, to say the least. When your town has 340 people, probably not much. The biggest center was 45 minutes away. They had 4,000, I think. And like I said, after that, it was 3 hours away, you would hit a place with 20k people. Not even anymore, 19k now. But regardless, we had a liquidation store, and they had a little bit of overstock on games. I was a child. I wanted something that wasn't, Pokemon anymore. All the games I owned at the time, they were either Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Leaf Green, Pokemon Emerald, and Pokemon Sapphire. That was all that I had, and I don't even think I had some of those games. I think I might have been missing Pokemon Leaf Green and Sapphire at the time. So we went into the store, and I wanted to get a game. I wanted to get something that wasn't Pokemon. I wanted to broaden my horizons a little bit. And I saw a box. And when I picked up, I looked at it. And I thought the woman on the box was the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life. And that woman was Erica of the Sacred Stones. Now, Nina, mind you, I started playing it. All I remember is my dad was getting a haircut. They let me play on my Game Boy, while dad was getting his haircut. And all I remember was getting to that first, not the first sea shot. I somehow figured out how to seize the castle, in, I think it would be considered chapter 2 of the Sacred Stones. The chapter you get Gilliam in France. So, I ended up beating that one. But then I got to the level where you get Neme and Colm. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the levels right at the top of my head. I should have looked up before I started this video, but that's on me. And I remember standing there for an hour straight trying to figure out how do I end this chapter? How do I win? And couldn't do it. To the end of the night, that's when I figured out Erica has to sit on the throne and physically hit C's. It doesn't help that I was in, grade 3 and I didn't know what the word C's meant. To me, it was just, alright, this is the option I pick, I guess. If I see a throne, I move the most important character there. And honestly, this just went on. I remember getting scared when I saw, all like the zombies coming out. And I was actually ahead of the curve because I thought Mulder was an absolutely excellent unit. Because the only thing I would do was send in Seth, bring him back, heal him up, send in Seth, bring him back. Every time he took one hit of damage, that was it. That was it for me. I would bring him back, heal him up. Mulder, he ended up. Yeah, I can't say I got the first guiding ring, in chapter 5 when you get Joshua, but I could honestly say that I did promote Mulder my first time, and I thought Neme was like the top tier unit as well, because she was the only unit I could find that was an archer, the only unit that could use the Orion's bolt to herself. I thought she was important enough that she had her own promotion item that nobody else could use besides her. I thought that Neme was like gonna carry my run for me. And now I look back at it and it's like, why was I even using Neme in the first place? How did I manage to get an archer to survive that long? Because I didn't realize that you could restart a chapter when you're playing. I thought you could just hit new game, resume game, and if you turn off your Game Boy and turn it back on, then you would be right back to where you started. I remember spending hours on the Scorched Sands chapter, because as soon as I got Noel, I just so happened to move him up in the village, like right next to where he spawns. I took the Erica route my first try, and I got Noel, and I promoted him to a summoner right away, because I was like, alright, I've never seen one of these summoner bad boys, let's go for it. And that's what I did. And then I realized that I could break enemy weapons. So every boss with a breakable weapon for the rest of the game, I sent in my phantoms and they done the work for me. I swear, Noel was promoted before no time. Like, I literally just kept spawning phantoms. Broke, oh my god, the guy who kills Joshua's mom. I remember breaking both of his weapons as Tomahawk. And then I went down to Walter and I broke his weapons too. And I made sure I got that kill with Erica and Seth. I made sure I got that kill. And I made sure I killed Joshua too. Because, fun fact, I had a friend named Joshua who had bright red hair at the time. Like, this guy was ginger. This guy, he walked out into the sun and he was automatically burned. So that's why I like Joshua. Ignore the crits. The crits were absolutely awesome. And plus the avoid, because like I said, I didn't know that I could reset. All I knew was that if the Lord died, then I could restart the chapter, and Seth was God. That's really all I knew. And it's good because Seth is actually a fantastic unit. But I hated javelins at the time, because I remember Vanessa, she spawned with a javelin, and she had horrible accuracy starting off. So I was just like, oh, with a javelin, this sucks. Why would anyone want to use this? And yeah. Then I remember Christmas Eve. Now, mind you, I was playing the Sacred Stones for months at this point. Same playthrough. Couldn't read. I didn't understand anything that was happening in the game. And then, Christmas Eve, I make it to the level where you're helping Larche's uncle. And it's the final guidance chapter of the game, I do believe. I remember trying that chapter for hours, and everything was dark. My phantoms couldn't hand a chance, because I couldn't see anything in the dark. I didn't know that torches existed. I couldn't read the word torch if I wanted to at the time. So yeah, that was difficult. I remember picking up the her uncle, running far as I could to the right side of the room and going in that corridor. And I was just hammering. I thought Innies was actually like a top tier unit too. I don't know why I thought archers. And get this. This is the hottest take yet. I thought flyers sucked. Flyers right now, they're like my favorite class of unit. Like anybody who knows me IRL knows I love using flyers. Ironically enough, I don't really like FE4 flyers because they don't get the rescue option. They don't get the option to, use the road tiles. So as funny as it sounds, like in FE4, your flyers, they fall behind. But like at this time, all I thought was, why would I use a flying unit when they can get one shot by a bow and the other units can't? And I remember like going like pirate warrior Ross, like all sorts of weird stuff that like no one ever does anymore, like the most anti-meta stuff. Then I got like towards the end of the game and I was like 4 days, like if not, I was more. I remember driving around with my parents when I finally beat the Demon Lord, like, well off into another town, like, for the weekend. So, like, honestly, like, I was there for, like, 4 days trying as hard as I can to take down Leon. And, like, I just kept bringing in my phantoms, and they were doing all this damage. And I remember, for some reason, I hated Dazzle. And I just kept trying to get Dazzle killed, but he just wouldn't die. So I kept healing him up. And now, like, I realized, like, oh, wait, he's just actually that tanky. Like, he could actually tank hits. Like, on the final chapter of the game, like, when you go into the crypt where Lion is. But, like, to me, as a kid, I don't know. I just didn't like him. Like, thinking back, like, I had no valid reason to not like this guy. But, like, I liked him. And, like, I remember, like, I managed to even, like, get a Cormag, I think is the recruitable one. I remember getting Cormag and like talking with Erica and like being mind blown, like, oh man, you could actually recruit all these units. Like I wasn't that dumb. Like I knew like if somebody talked, like I figured if you talked to him with somebody, like enough trial and error, then like you would for sure be able to get him. I missed Amelia. I did get Owen though. I did get Owen. I remember. I thought dancers. I was like, oh, why would I use a dancer? Why would anyone want to use a dancer? Why would I want a unit to move twice when I could just? Because I never thought of it as like an extension to my best unit. Like I could move Seth twice, for an example. I thought of it more or less like, oh well, I'm not going to use that. They can't attack. That's not cool at all. And I remember seeing online on a video of somebody using Fimbleturv for Fimbleturv? I don't know how to say it. Using Fimbleturv on Tethys against Lion. And I was like, there has to be a way to do this. And I just tried maxed out, got level 20, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And then I went on YouTube. Bad mistake. Because I thought FE6 and FE7, I thought they were mods of FE8. All I saw was Fire Emblem, the Sacred Stones. I thought this was a standalone game. There was no number on this box. All I thought was, this is Sacred Stones. This is what I want. And the only didn't know the FE3, FE4, didn't know FE2. But I did see one person playing FE1, like on the original soft hardware, like as a kid. And I remember thinking that this is the worst game I have ever seen in my life. Which is ironic where you see where I am now and what I'm about to lead on to. Because my next game that I played, I don't have it on me right now. It's in one of my DS's somewhere. But my next game that I got in the series was Shadow Dragon. And Shadow Dragon, I'm not going to be very long on, because I got the game, I got to the chapter where you had, like, Wolf and Sedgar, and I think the chapter after that is where you could actually, like, customize your classes for each unit. And that intimidated me, so I just never played the game anymore. I thought the game was just too advanced for me at the time. I never played it. But I remember I was in St. John's, Newfoundland, where we picked that up. And that's why my parents let me get it. Because that was like a 12-hour drive from where we were. There was a family member in the hospital. I can't remember who it was. But like it wasn't anything overly serious. It was just a doctor's appointment. And like, yeah, that's really the most I could remember is getting Shadow Dragon and being completely intimidated by the entire game. Now, I lived isolated enough that like I never really like, I owned a GameCube and I owned a Wii growing up, but I really never bought any games for it. I mean, even as a Pokemon fan, like I had XD, but I never beat it. Still never beat Coliseum to this day. I still never beat Radiant Dawn, and I never beat Path of Radiance. Like that's my controversial take for the day. I've never played a Tellius game so far, other than the first chapter of Path of Radiance. I played that once. My computer was a little laggy, couldn't really run the game, didn't really get any further from that. But then I remember, I was talking to one of my cousins. He was also getting into Fire Emblem, but like, a Fire Emblem game I never heard of. And then he started talking about Awakening. And by extension, then he started talking about Fates. I was out of the loop for a while. I didn't really know. All I knew was that, they had this banger game for the Game Boy. Nothing else. I never even thought to look up the series online. That's how isolated we lived, right? I never even thought to search the game up online. By this time, I moved into the bigger city with like 4,000 people into it. So there was a few more people around. Like I said, my cousin was there, so it was nice to have family. He introduced me to Awakening. To this day, I still hate the pair-up feature, and I've only beaten Awakening like once. I'm aware of some of the stuff that happens to do it, but and I do have Awakening. I think I bought it twice. Once for my original 3DS, and once for my 2DS, the one that doesn't flip sideways. Then I got Fates. I didn't know that Fate split into 3 games, and I got Birthright. I had a lot of fun playing Birthright my first time, but that was that was it for playing Birthright. Honestly, I know we're already skipped like most of everything, but I basically skipped like 4 Fire Emblem games before I got back into it. That's when Shadows of Valentia came out. I was working at Canadian Tire at the time, and I heard someone say like, "Hey Jordan, I know you don't like pair up. You gotta try this game. This game, it has no pair up features. Like, you could trade your items, there's no rescue, like, it's genuinely, like, a difficult game, like, you're gonna like it." Because I like hard games. And honestly, the game wasn't too hard, I don't find. But honestly, I really liked it. I liked the voice acting approach. I liked, Emblem Story. And that's when I learned that it was actually a remake of the second Fire Emblem game. I beat the entire game. I mean, I don't know how no one didn't see that, Prince Rudolph or whatever his name wasn't Alm's dad. I don't know how anybody never saw that. I didn't see the whole, he done all this to get Celica and Alm together. But, honestly, to get, Valentia together. I'm drawing blanks. It's been a while since I played this game as well. Plus, I'm running on, no sleep. As if you're following me on Twitter, as you've seen. So yeah, I can't really say at that point, I was a massive Fire Emblem fan. But then something happened. And I know this name is, sacrilegious in the community right now. But if you look at my channel, then you know that this was a very important part of my life. And honestly, it's when Mangs and Mecha started playing their Fire Emblem 4 playthrough. I mean, that series had an effect on me. I would get in my car, I would drive for a two and a half hour trip one way, 5-hour round trip to get my girlfriend at the time, and the whole time I'll be listening to Mangs and Mecha, listening to the story of FE4. I never really had a chance to play it, but listen, once I got into that series, I had to go buy myself a computer so I could emulate that game. I was mind blown. To this day, I still think FE4 has the best story of any game that I have ever played. And that's one thing I'll always be appreciative of, is just how well that they voice acted and done that game. Say what you want about where they're to now. I know everyone has their opinions, and I know people done horrible things in the past, and I'm not going to justify that. I'm not going to justify that in the slightest. But I would be lying if I said that I'd be lying if I told you that video series isn't why I got into FE4. And then Three Houses came out like halfway in between. And like I was so far in FE4, I was like, I need to get 3 houses. I need to get that game. Day of release. I woke up 6 o'clock in the morning, woke up my girlfriend. I said, Kara, me and you, we're getting in the car and we're driving to Corner Brook. And she's like, Jordan, it's 6:30 in the morning. Like, nothing's gonna be open. Like, we're gonna get there and it's gonna be like 9 o'clock. And I was like, perfect. We're gonna wait in the parking lot for Fire Emblem 3 houses. And like, she had no idea. Like, she knew, like, when I slept, I listened to the FE4 playthrough. Like, she knew what Fire Emblem was, but she did not know just how much I liked the game. And I went, like I said, I drove the whole way. We only stopped long enough to get some pizza. And then we got back in the car and we drove back. Like, we were practically home before lunchtime. And I sat down, for no joke, the better part of 3 days. I don't know if I got off that game any longer than it took to, go for, like a smoke or something. I played that game from start to finish. And honestly, like, I can't even remember going to bed until the fight before the Immaculate One. And I didn't really understand. Like, there was just so much going on that, like, at that point, like, the Kara was like, you've been up for days. You need to go to sleep. Like, there's just too much going on. You're not going to be... And I did. I slept for almost a day. Like, I had to take, like, 24 hours off just so I could beat this final chapter. Like, it wasn't hard. It wasn't, like, looking back, it wasn't hard, because, this was before Madden Game, but this was right when it came out. I wasn't on New Game Plus. Like, this was the first playthrough. So I was playing it, like I said, like, I just had to take a break, just so I could actually give my brain a rest. And then after I beat that, like, it was the Silver Snow, because I messed up. I forgot to talk to Edelgard, and I ended up losing 2 of my best units. But, that happens to everybody. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I know Mangs and Mecha, I know they just finished up their Fire Emblem 4 Generation 1 playthrough. So I gotta try it out myself. And I started playing. I got through the prologue. It took maybe 2 tries for me to get past that, because the maps are so huge. I was intimidated. Then I went down to my cousin's house, and like, we just put it on his TV, and we just started going. And as we started, like, voice acting the characters, like, in our own way, like, making fun of everything, like, just basically memeing in our own rights, I fell absolutely in love. Before part 2 for them could start, I started playing. I remember the day I beat part 5, I stayed up for a full night. Never even slept. I stayed up the entire night. Beat chapter 5 so I could see everything that happened to Sigurd, and then so I could start off in Selif's part. And, well, my girlfriend, she was still in school at the time, so I had to take her off so she could do a final. Got in the car. We drove 3 hours. The entire day, I sat in the parking lot playing Fire Emblem 4, like, Generation 2. And, like, I think I got to, like, chapter 8 before she even got out of school. And, like, there was just nothing that I could do. I was just hooked onto this game until I could beat it. And shortly after that, that's when we got our Thracia, like our new Thracia translation. So this is the first time I was able to play Thracia too. So like, as soon as that happened, like, I gotta carry on the story of Jugdraw. I was like, I need to carry on the story of Jugdraw. And then I got beat FE5 for the first time. And then I started, like, theory crafting. Then I was like, alright, so 3 houses, it got this. And I was like, genealogy, it also has this. And I was like, alright, like, hopefully we get a genealogy, because there's school and there's time skips, and like, there's Night Academy in one while there's school in the other. And I was like, alright, like, this is like, we're gonna get FE4 remake. And we sadly, we never ended up getting it yet. And honestly, that's the end of the Fire Emblem. But when I left Port Bass and I moved up here to Fort McMurray, I was thinking, I'm gonna get myself 2 more games. And what else did I pick besides the 2 of these? To this day, I only beat FE7 a handful of times. The storyline, I'm certain you guys know what I'm going to say. I think the game is fun. I like games with ranking systems. The game is really fun to play, and I respect the fact that like in these older games that characters actually had set classes. So like like Seth, he's a paladin. Like that's what you think of. Whereas with Three Houses, it's like anybody could be anybody, and like that's what I don't like. I don't like the clean slate. But then I think the most fun playthrough I've ever had of any Fire Emblem game, and this is why I saved this one for last specifically, was FE6. Like I know it's a bit controversial, the hit rates, they're horrible. But I was on hard mode and I ended up beating it. It was an Iron Man. I'd done it blind Iron Man. And most people died. I never got the true ending. I think the only person alive at the end of the game that could even get a legendary artifact like for us would have been Zeus. Zeus survived, Milady didn't, so we didn't get the ancient artifact. But I mean, I'm thinking at the top of my head, Percival lived, Rutger lived, of course Roy lived. Oh my god, Ostafolo, he survived. Fur survived, and I was just using like their Fur's and Riker's support. And Zeus, like I said, he survived. Nime survived. Saul survived, and there was one other unit. Sophia survived. She couldn't promote because I ran out of money and promotion items, but she survived, and that was the main thing. And that was probably the most fun run of Fire Emblem I've ever had. But yeah, this is my Fire Emblem story. That's how I got so heavily into the series. That's my history of how I got into each one of the games. And that's how I ended up being where I am now, because I'm craving jug draw content, and apparently we're not getting any for another while because we're getting a new Fire Emblem game already. But it's a Warriors game, so yay! I never played Warriors, but I guess I got to now because I'm craving Fire Emblem content. But yeah, if you made it this far, I'm just gonna assume that you're already subscribed. So all I'm gonna say, enjoy your day. Thank you for listening, and honestly, enjoy the rest of it. It's 8:50 in the morning here. I hope you all have a great day.